Unaffiliated by Julius Knapp. I registered to vote when I turned 18. I remember being so excited to practice what I felt was my civic duty, being able to finally participate in American democracy, in the Great Experiment, was an honor. So few people before me, historically speaking, or globally, had the option to experience that honor. And so I went to the MVA, Maryland's Motor Vehicle Administration, updated my license, and selected Democrat as my party. For many years afterwards, I was a casual supporter of the Democratic Party. At the time, it was easy to do so. I was surrounded by other like-minded members. In central suburban Maryland, it's hard not to be. And the national political environment placed Democrats in a strong position. Sure, Clinton had been impeached, but the federal budget showed a surplus. Businesses were flourishing thanks to the growing World Wide Web, and social progress was significant. Eventually, it became clear that those things would not last, or that progress would be harder to come by than expected. Moreover, I was studying mathematics with a minor in philosophy, and my interest in politics had waned. The next opportunity I had to update my political affiliation, I changed to unaffiliated. Years later, after the Great Recession had decimated the housing, stock, and financial markets, the country found itself fighting in two wars, and the Patriot Act and Great Recession challenged our democracy. I found myself becoming more curious. I listened to C-SPAN on the radio every time I was in the car, read more about the history of politics in the U.S., and engaged in conversations with friends and coworkers. As a brief aside, and as I think about this now, it was really the perfect storm of minor life changes that made this period of my life possible. WHFS had just gone off the air, so I found myself looking for other things to listen to in the car. Wikipedia had matured enough where that kind of information was easily accessible. And I found myself working at Borders, a melting pot of people and ideas from all different backgrounds if there ever was one. I learned many lessons during that period. Perhaps the most important was that most politicians were genuinely good people. Listening to many of them speak on the House or Senate floor, it's clear that most want what is best for their districts or states, and that they make every effort to listen to their constituents. Seriously, I challenge anyone to turn on C-SPAN and listen to a handful of speakers from the opposing side. You'll find yourself nodding your head in agreement through most of their speech. The second lesson was that most of the politicians that appear on the popular cable news shows are only there to rally their base or coerce the media into giving them a larger voice. They're not there to present carefully reasoned and nuanced arguments. They're there either as a puppet of their party or to serve their own ambition. With rare exception, I view these people as the dunces of political discord, or as the class clowns of Congress. The third lesson I learned is that unfortunately, these are the only people most Americans see on a regular basis. And to be clear, I don't blame my fellow Americans, any of them, for that behavior. There's only so much time a person can be expected to sustain interest in the issues, most of which will never directly affect them. To be honest, I don't really blame the politicians, at least the more junior of them, on those popular news shows either. Listen to the differences in how they speak to Congress and how they speak to the media, and I think you'll agree that some have just become victims of the party, themselves coerced into arguing for or defending a position neither they nor their constituents believe in. It's for those reasons that I now proudly say that I am still unaffiliated. While my original reasons for becoming unaffiliated might not have been very strong, I see now the real harm that party affiliation does to this country and to us as Americans. Truly, the response to the question, are you Republican or Democrat, should always be, I'm an American. Identity politics is a powerful motivator, and it starts with dividing everyone into Republican or Democrat, enforcing the us versus them mentality. Second, becoming unaffiliated provides more freedom for us to explore ideas and negotiate rather than debate to find the best ones. We are a nation of 333 million people with at least as many problems. It can't be expected that anyone's side will have the exact solution. And lastly, becoming unaffiliated encourages politicians to make the best decisions and to collaborate with their constituents. Otherwise, they can simply look at the voter registrations and know with some confidence that their job is safe. It is my hope that more people will choose to register as unaffiliated. To those that say, but I want to be able to vote in the primary, I say, let's advocate for open primaries. Let's pick the best candidates rather than just the best Republican or best Democrat. At the very least, you'll get less mail and fewer phone calls.
Julius.
Brian, we meet again.
We meet again. So, this one's called Unaffiliated.
Yes.
Are you still unaffiliated today?
I am still unaffiliated today. Proudly unaffiliated.
Proudly unaffiliated?
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. Do you lean anywhere?
I definitely lean left.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm not going to lie about that. I feel like from a personal standpoint, and maybe this is just, again, if you go back through our previous interviews, you'll see that I'm the son of two government employees. Living in Central Maryland, I mean, this is maybe it's just a quality of that background, but I do think there is a place for government, and I think the solution should always be to fix what is broken and not simply tear it down. If that puts me in one camp or the other, I mean, I would only say just feels like it puts me maybe slightly left, but I don't. I'm sure there are people on the right that would take the same position. So
yeah,
take it for what it's worth.
Okay, very good. Well, in this article, in the first part of it, you revealed another little bit about yourself.
Mm-hmm.
So you were a math major with a philosophy minor.
Yep.
Utilitarianism?
I mean, I don't know that I really studied that particular aspect of philosophy that deeply.
Okay. You know what it is, though, right? Do you remember what it is?
I don't. Go ahead.
Oh, okay. So utilitarianism is, I mean, and it's been 20, 30 years, since I read about it. So this might be completely wrong.
Yeah.
But what it is people's motivations, can be almost quantified, and they always move to what does the most good, whether it be for them or for somebody else.
Yeah.
So that, I mean, or the big picture, I should say, but usually, whatever creates the most quote unquote good.
Yeah.
Keep in mind, what is good for you might not be good for somebody else, but that's their motivation, and that's how people go through life.
Yeah.
So, by combining mathematics and utilitarianism,
maximally, optimally good, or whatever.
Maximize, yeah, you can calculate it out.
Right. My experience, with philosophy is mostly I was very interested in the theory of knowledge, or the theory of knowing, epistemology or ontology. That I think are the two terms. So neither of them really especially political, but I did, kind of my broader view of philosophy and just philosophers over time is just that the ideas today might not necessarily be the ideas we share tomorrow, mm-hmm. and that your theory is just a model of the real world. It doesn't necessarily represent. It's not necessarily an exact representation,
right?
But so in that, I think you can kind of see how that colors the article in a sense.
Mm-hmm.
The kind of taking of two sides
Right. And actually,
perspective.
the whole project,
Yeah.
to be fair,
Yeah.
once we start getting some more diverse authors in here.
Yeah.
And this also kind of keys into a discussion we've had in the past. I can't remember if it's been on mic or not, but does everybody see the color green the same way?
Right.
It's kind of that same sort of thing. What philosophers do you still carry with you?
I still consider Kant to be very kind of influential. I feel like that's kind of like the easy one to cite. Plato, absolutely. Even though Plato didn't really.
His haircut reset was awesome, wasn't it?
Oh yeah.
Sorry.
No.
Not that Plato.
Yeah, I think those are probably the two that stand out to me the most. I know there's many others that I like, that I researched their ideas, but I'm just terrible with names.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, I think if I remember right, I was drawn to Locke, and I was also drawn to Kant. Kant was a big one. But yeah, I mean, well, Jonathan Locke, life, liberty, and pursuit of property.
Mm-hmm.
Which would eventually influence, of course, the Declaration of Independence.
Yep.
So, it should be pursuit of happiness in that. But, anywho. So, you had mentioned, let's see here, about, the short claim had been impeached, but the federal budget showed a surplus, and businesses were flourishing. Do you think, as an unaffiliated person, do you think divided government is best?
That's a tough question, and the reason I say it's tough is because the way we seem to practice divided government in this country is so much different from how divided government is experienced in other countries. And I would say divided government is, I don't know if I would say it's, how did you put it? It was, it's critical or to having a functioning democracy. But I think it's important that people, find, similarities, ways to work together.
Common ground.
Yeah. How is that? I'm like blanking on the term that.
Yeah.
That like parliamentary systems use, having a coalition government. Yeah. I think that's important. I think that but this kind of like two-party system that we seem to have, and I feel like almost everyone agrees two-party system is terrible, but and so in that sense where it's only one side or the other, I feel like that's been somewhat detrimental to our democracy. Yeah.
Right. Yeah, I mean, two-party is too corruptible. It's like an earlier discussion we had about number of representatives versus the size of population.
Right.
If the ratio is closer to each other, that cuts down corruption, because the cost of corruption will be so prohibitively high in order to get something passed.
Right.
Whereas with less officials to corrupt, the easier it is to corrupt.
Yep.
Yeah. So when you became unaffiliated, did you do so because you felt uninformed?
I think that was probably part of it. Although I think I've generally tried to stay somewhat informed over time. But I also just kind of felt a uh, like it was just unnecessary to be
Mm-hmm.
affiliated with one side or the other. I know in Maryland we have the primary system. There's no common primary like they have in some other states, which I would advocate more for that. Uh, but it didn't really feel necessary,
Mm-hmm.
and at least as far as like primaries are concerned, uh, your voice is still so diluted
Mm-hmm.
by the extremes in either whatever party you ascribe to. Um, I'll tell you the other big reason. I started to notice election after election that the Republicans that made it onto the ballot were generally like their ideas were not very well thought out. And
Mm-hmm.
I don't mean this as a dig against anyone in that party, but in Maryland, the Republican Party does not invest in quality candidates.
No.
Um, and I would imagine the same thing could be said of the Democratic Party in red states, that the Democratic Party doesn't invest a lot of money in quality Democratic candidates. So I would say that was probably like the genesis of the idea that maybe my party affiliation doesn't really matter as much as I think it does.
Mm-hmm.
And so being unaffiliated just seemed kind of like the natural um, uh, protest, if you will, of that idea that you know maybe just being unaffiliated is a nice quiet way for me to protest against that system.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So this just popped in my head, and I guess it's somewhat related because it just popped in my head right now. Here it is, day after Pi Day. Um,
uh,
it's 3:15. I heard on the Morning Joe yesterday that Bernie Sanders has been going to red states
mm-hmm.
over the last like week or so.
Yep.
And listening and presenting an alternative point of view than what they're used to hearing, because he feels like right now is prime pickings to grow the party, because a lot of conservatives are not happy with what's going on with Trump regarding Canada, regarding
Uh-huh.
the federal government, regarding Doge, and so he senses an opportunity to reach across the lines and go places where Democrats don't normally go. Had you heard that, or did you have any thoughts about that?
I hadn't heard that, but I think that's great. I think anytime a politician gets out there and puts themselves before the public, I think that's really the indication of a functioning democracy is
Yeah.
whether those people in power can a get out and talk to their constituents, but also be whether they can hold themselves accountable to the publicly,
Yeah.
and not simply post on social media or whatever, the one sentence, one line soundbite or whatever.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, I think I would like to, and there are people on both sides that do that. Unfortunately, I feel like they don't. Bernie Sanders gets a lot of press.
Mm-hmm.
I think because he was a strong candidate for the to be the Democratic nominee, multiple election cycles in a
Mm-hmm.
row now. But there are absolutely people on both sides that that get out there. They understand the responsibilities of their job is to put themselves in front of their constituents and take the praises or take the tar and feathering if that's what that's what has to happen.
Yeah, as far left as Sanders is, I mean, I've said before that it's not a flat line; it's actually a circle.
Yeah.
And the extremes of the left and the right meet together. Um,
Yep.
and in 2016, I knew plenty of people who said, if Sanders doesn't get the nomination, I'm voting for Trump.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
You know,
and there were a lot of people that voted for AOC that also voted for Trump.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. So, it's really interesting. People are not. The world is not how we see it in terms. It's not flat spectrum.
Uh-huh.
The world is not flat. It meets in the end. So whether it be at the international state line or prime meridian, it always meets.
Yep.
So, yeah. I had written down here, since you mentioned the Clinton impeachment, and I think this kind of varies away from the article some.
Uh-huh.
But Clinton impeachment versus Trump impeachments.
Uh-huh.
Looking back, since Clinton's impeachment was 97, so that's what we're coming up on 30 years at this point.
Yeah. Oh man. Yeah. Wow. I'm old.
Yeah. I mean, well, Monica Lewinsky's my age. I mean, I think we were born in the same year, 1973.
Oh wow.
So, anyway, that was the era of the divided government, and we got those surpluses during an impeachment.
Uh-huh.
Could that happen in this environment?
Ooh.
Or is the vitriol too thick? If that's a good terminology. I don't know if it's grammatically correct or not, but yeah, is the vitriol too thick?
I think in today's environment, I would have to say no. And I mentioned C-SPAN in the article. I actually,
Mm-hmm.
I don't listen to C-SPAN so much anymore, but I still have a warm place in my heart for C-SPAN and what they do.
Yeah, I used to listen to in the morning like 20 years ago too.
Yeah, but at the same time, they're kind of like credited with kind of starting this era of, I'll call them windbag politicians, people who just grandstand, because now there's TVs. Now there's TVs right in the, on the congressional floor, so they can go speak their mind and get a few sound bites. It's all about corralling the base, for some of them at least, rather than having healthy debate. It's so C-SPAN. I have heard some try to argue that is kind of where it starts, but it's so much worse now, right? Like there's so many more outlets and so many more ways for people to have to continue to play the identity politics game of we have to keep everyone together. Nobody can like cross the aisle. We have to just corral everyone into this group or that, and there can be no dissent or what's the word I'm looking for? I'm blanking on
Bipartisanship.
Yeah, essentially, yeah. Compromise.
Compromise. Rather thought. Yeah.
While the circumstances of the time, in the mid '90s, was still somewhat divisive. It just didn't. I don't know how to describe. Like the feeling was just so much different. It was. I think we were divided on policy, but not necessarily divided on identity, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
And so it was easier to kind of like reach across and try to find some common ground.
Yeah.
That's just so much harder now. I've also heard like there was a congressional luncheon or something that and that that went away as a perk of being a congressperson, and it's like sure it saves a little bit of money, but now there's no sitting down with people on the other side of the aisle and breaking bread and sharing just casual conversation. There's none of that anymore either.
Yeah.
So
Interesting. Yeah, I mean, Clinton, there was like a lot that was going on during that time. I mean, Waco occurred under Clinton as well, dealing with the ATF. And then the response to that, Oklahoma City.
Right.
So, I mean, we had, a terrorist action in response to a government action during that time, during the impeachment. And, it's like, as horrible as that was, and as crazy as it was during that time, and everybody flipping out, rightfully so, January 6th seems so much bigger.
I think the other thing too, though, like there were like the 90s is an incredible era. I mean, every decade has its ups and downs, but the thing about the 90s,
you would think this time would have better music, considering how bad things are.
Right. I know, right. There's no rallying cry.
Yeah.
There's no,
I mean, it's like, yeah.
Yeah. But the
rock and roll will save the world, right?
Yeah.
Where's rock and roll?
Yeah. Be excellent to each other. No, but I think there was also there was a lot of hope in the 90s because the Soviet Union had just collapsed.
Yes.
There was this kind of trend towards democracy across Eastern Europe.
Yep. European Union came together during that time.
Yep. Yeah. There was a lot of unity just in general. It was just kind of a theme.
Yeah.
And so I think it made it easier for people to kind of see the bright side. Maybe, I don't know.
Yeah. The trouble stopped in Ireland. With the IRA.
That's right. Yeah.
Yeah. There was so much that happened.
It's still crazy to think about. The time before that. I still remember there being terrorist bombings in Europe, and that thought today is just unfathomable.
Yeah.
But
all right. So you became unaffiliated after working at Borders.
Yes, Borders.
There will never be another Borders.
No, there will not. That is one thing you and I share.
It is.
We worked at Borders, different branches, but roughly the same time, I think.
Yeah, I was there from 97 to 2001, I think.
Oh, then no, totally different times.
Really?
I was there from, I think it was 2006 to 2008.
Oh, okay. Yeah, totally different times.
Or 2009 maybe. But it was but I'm sure the character was still the same. The employees, everybody came from a different walk of life.
Yeah.
You just met all kinds of people, and of course you're in a bookstore. There's ideas, and Borders, fortunately, was one of those, for better or for worse, retailers that would not take a stand on whether something was appropriate or not. There was a lot of material in the store. I'm sure you remember. People would protest about whether certain books should be allowed.
It made for some interesting conversations with customers.
Absolutely.
When I was a supervisor, in Frederick, Crossroads display, had a whole bunch of pagan stuff on there one week, and I had a Christian come in, offended, saying I should take it down, take it off the display. And I had to defend the store, saying, "Hey, look, it isn't just Christians who shop here.
Right.
There's plenty of stuff here that are Christian. We've displayed Christian stuff before on our display.
Yep.
But it's just not this week, and it made for a hard conversation with the customer.
Yeah.
And I I shit you not, the very next week I had a Satanist come in and complain that this
I
stuff was
know,
not
it
being
was
displayed.
it was crazy, right? It was crazy how you had that. Like, you just get it from both sides.
Yeah, 100%.
Yeah.
You know, there's no pleasing anyone. My favorite joke I played, though, when I was working at Borders was I convinced a new hire that the metaphysical section floated at night.
What? Oh my God! How did you do that?
They were like young and naive.
Emphasis on the naive.
Yeah, well, I mean, I of course I busted the joke like within 30 seconds, like of course it doesn't. But I saw that momentary,
Like,
huh? What?
right? Oh my gosh!
But yeah, I love Borders. Oh, there's no place like Borders for somebody who had completed like 4 years of college like I did but didn't graduate, or you who, like, had you graduated at that point?
I had just only like months before.
Right, or had graduated from college but didn't want to grow up yet.
Right.
No place like Borders.
Yeah.
I mean, it's very educated people who had a lot of fun.
Yes.
That's, yeah, I will always miss Borders. All right, so getting back to, I guess, an earlier point, you had mentioned the luncheon being gone and stuff like that, and yeah, you've also touched on social media. A couple of things. There are rules of decorum in Congress. So how you speak on the floor is a heck of a lot more respectful. And your speeches have corners. They have boundaries. It's more. It's more soul music, because soul music has corners. Whereas when you're on social media, especially social media, or talking to another talking head on cable,
Yeah.
it's more jazz. There is no decorum.
Right.
There is more. It can be more bombastic. So, do you think that social media and cable have actually exacerbated the problem of division and strife and all of that?
Yeah, I would say yes. I think so.
Polarization, that's the word I was looking for. Yeah.
What was it?
Polarization.
Polarization. Yes. Yeah, I would say so, because I think it's, again, they're not, there's anytime you get into a conversation, a political discussion with anybody for more than 5 minutes, you realize there's a lot of nuance, right? And that's, social media is just not built to foster that, to say, like, we should allow abortions in these situations and maybe not others, or to allow people. Talking about that subject specifically, I've literally had arguments with people on the other side who, call themselves pro life, right? And I would absolutely consider myself pro-choice, and then you get into arguments where you realize you're arguing the same point, like,
Yeah.
but for whatever reason, people just can't get over the idea that maybe I am pro-choice, and it's I think that's again the identity politics. They don't just can't. They're in this camp, and they need to identify as being part of that camp. And so I would say, like, but you have to be able to have a longer conversation to be able to get to the nuance. A lot of times you start at the surface and then you dig down deep.
Yeah.
So no, I don't think social media has helped that at all.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, it's like most people would be fine with defending the life of the mother, and most people would be fine. Let me choose a ridiculously low week, say 8 weeks, ridiculously low. Um, but most people would be fine with that. And so when you say, okay, well, that's technically a pro-choice position, they're like, I'm pro-life.
Right.
And suddenly, they're, even though being pro-life would like be endangering the life of the mother, there would be no choice ever, up to 8 weeks. It's, they cede their position for the label. And I think there's a lot of that goes on where people cede away what they actually believe with
Right.
all the nuance,
Uh-huh.
because life is complex.
Yep.
Therefore, issues are complex.
Right.
But we live in bumper sticker politics,
Yeah.
where you have our 2 words
Yep.
maximum, and and so they choose the label.
Yep. Yeah.
And then they wonder why there's so much division.
Yep.
So, yeah. So, all right, yeah, I guess we already hit if social media has poisoned politics. Going on this point, one of the things I had thought about in 1968,
Mm-hmm.
a third grade teacher in Iowa
Yeah.
performed an experiment
Okay.
on her third grade class.
I think I've heard about this, but it's been so long. Go ahead.
The brown eyes versus blue eyes.
Yes. Yes. Yeah.
And I think the first round of it, I think she had brown eyes, so she separated all the people with brown eyes. Just so I'm in a teaching position, therefore I'm entrusted to instruct society. It's a very honored position, and you all are actually, you guys will go more further in life than the brown-eyed people. It's just the way it is. They are inferior, and all the brown-eyed kids, started crying or whatnot, and all the blue-eyed kids, they were more apt to bully then and all that, and then the next day she reversed it.
Uh-huh.
She said, just so you know, I'm a teacher, and that's actually, it doesn't pay well, and therefore I'm actually in the lower class of society, and the blue-eyed people are really superior. And everybody reversed. And then the third day, like, okay, so everything I told you about blue eyes and brown eyes was wrong. How did you feel? Knowing that you were superior and knowing that you were inferior.
Uh-huh.
And I kind of jumped to this because braver angels, they go away from the Democrat Republican label. They go, are you red or are you blue? But I think it still applies. It definitely still applies with the Republicans and Democrats because of the demonization that occurs with the polarization.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, identity
That
politics.
they want the other
is,
side to feel humiliation.
Right. I mean, identity politics is as much about putting the other side down as it is about.
There's no correlation.
Right.
There's no.
And there's no correlation.
With all these machinations.
Right. I mean, when I think about a lot of the people that I watch a lot of YouTube. I watch a lot of political commentators on YouTube, and the thing that will almost immediately turn me off is when the entire show becomes just talking about how terrible the other side is. And
There's no
and
imagination.
right, there's no imagination. Oh, you're on a roll today.
Oh, I'm totally on a roll. Good.
But yeah, I think the other thing that I didn't get to maybe I'll get to express this in a future article is how much I try to be very very carefully select my media diet, so to speak, and I don't appreciate the kind of like talking heads who just want to talk about how terrible something is. Now, those things are important. It is important to know when uh, when something is genuinely bad. I don't think it's healthy to kind of um, just turn your head away because it makes you angry.
Mm-hmm.
Sometimes being angry is the right thing to feel.
Yeah.
Um, but I try to be very selective and try to you know find people who can tell me what give me a kind of like positive outlook of their side and what they're really trying to accomplish. Um, yeah, hopefully I'll get to speak on that in some future interview. But
Yeah, in a future article.
yeah,
Yeah. Yep. Yep. Um. Yeah. So that's the red blue. Um. All right. The last thing you had mentioned here. Let me switch back. Um. Okay. Oh, actually, let me before I hit that. In the end, you do not blame your fellow Americans for this, for falling into this.
yeah. I think this is another thing. Last week I think or in my previous article, I think the theme there was bravery. I really felt like bravery was in short supply, and we need to kind of remember how to be brave.
Mm-hmm.
It doesn't have to be running into a burning building, but it just stating publicly what your beliefs are. I think in this one, I would almost argue that the theme for me was more about forgiveness and learning
Mm.
how to forgive your side or the other side or
Yeah.
for behaving a certain way. I mean, at the end of the day, we all make choices based on the circumstances we find ourselves in, and we don't necessarily get to dictate those circumstances. But there's an expectation that you have to behave a certain way or do a certain thing, regardless. And you don't necessarily have the best reasons, but you trust your peers to kind of to lead you down the right path. And I think that's why I say I don't blame people for uh, uh, I don't blame the politicians for being so bombastic. I mean, they're in a sense they're a victims. They're a victim just like the rest of us are of the circumstance they find themselves in. The media and political environment right now is just not conducive to what to allow them to behave the way they want, so they behave the way they know they think they should. um, so right or wrong, uh, yeah, no, I don't necessarily blame them.
One of the causes of the Civil War was sectionalism.
Okay, I don't know anything about that. Go ahead and explain.
Okay, so sectionalism, like for instance, Abraham Lincoln did not even campaign in the South.
Okay.
It's so you had areas of the country that were becoming culturally, economically different than other parts of the country. And with gerrymandering, I feel like that's going on again.
Hmm.
So with gerrymandering going on, is forgiveness really? And I'm not saying this on a personal level, but rather a systemic one. Is forgiveness even possible,
Absolutely.
given how the system is set up
Um,
systemically?
uh, I think I take your meaning. It's I would say the my knee jerk reaction is to say absolutely it's always possible to forgive.
Mm-hmm.
It's not easy, but it's always possible. I think I understand your meaning
So,
though,
so
that that
personally, I
it's
feel
not
I could
possible
forgive,
for like
but could a candidate come
sure yes
and
I
forgive?
understand. You're speaking specifically of like today's political
Yeah,
environment.
yeah. In today's political
I
environment,
mean, I can't say they'd win, but they'd have my respect if they did. If they, I mean, I don't know if that I don't. That probably doesn't answer your question very well, but
yeah. I
but
mean, it's
but I would absolutely respect, and I would probably vote for that person. I don't know if they'd win, but yeah, I respect people who stand on their principles, and if someone can, uh, publicly say I forgive the other side, uh, then I'll stand with that person. Uh,
I know Lincoln did that after the Civil War. Well, I guess technically the Civil War is still technically going on, but I know he said that in his second inaugural. Malice towards none.
right.
Um, and he understood that forgiveness was imperative for the nation to come together and survive again. I think what really scares me, um, and this project is, in the end, once we get some bigger spectrum
Yeah.
writers,
Yes.
uh, but in the end, this project is kind of geared towards forgiveness in a way, trying to understand each other, understand where they came from,
Yep.
so we can build bridges,
Yeah.
and forgive. But my biggest concern is that forgiveness usually doesn't occur until after the big conflict occurs.
Mm.
And I'm not sure America is ready to stop fighting. I feel like they want to. I think a large part of America wants to put salt in the wound, wants to turn up the heat even more, and wants to divide even more. I mean, I'm hoping that we are 5 years ahead of our time.
Sure.
But I am afraid for these next 5 years.
Yeah. No, and I get that. It's yeah, and we've kind of had this discussion before. I'll tee it up. I'll ask a question back to you. Here it comes. Yep, get the bat ready. How do you feel about Ford pardoning Nixon?
It was necessary.
Okay.
He paid the political price for it. It destroyed his career. In the long run, it was right. But, and here's the kicker, he also would have been right not to.
Okay. Is pardoning a form of forgiveness?
It is.
Okay.
It is. And there have been, since the beginning of time, a three-way fight between vengeance, justice, and forgiveness.
Okay.
And
all right.
just because, and it's like you start getting bring out your freaking philosophy major because minor. I mean,
Yeah.
because just because you're right doesn't mean you're always correct, and just because you're correct does not necessarily mean you're always right.
Yeah, absolutely. You're right. Um, let me give you another example. Okay, as another softball. I gave you the t-ball. Here comes the softball. Uh, would how would you feel about Trump pardoning Biden?
Oh, that would be a masterclass move on his part
Okay, why do you say?
because it would lower the temperature,
Okay,
and he knows the temperature is very high against him. Um, Not in his comprehension. He'd never do that. He can't even conceive doing that.
I
But
mean, yeah,
but it would be wow. You know, I'd totally tip my hat to Trump if he did that because he would have totally stepped outside of himself.
yeah, okay,
I don't think he has I don't think he has the capability to do that. But
maybe not.
I don't think he's
But
really an abstract thinker. Um,
but here's the interesting since we're talking about, he does seem to have an awareness of, as you said, the high temperature.
yeah,
The last few times I've seen him in front of the camera, he's almost kind of like trying to peel himself away, and
he's
like he seems a little nervous.
well. He definitely put some corners on Doge.
Uh-huh.
A little less jazz, a little bit more soul.
Yep.
If anybody's listening, they wonder where I got the corners and jazz and soul thing. The Commitments, that movie, that's brought up in that
Okay.
movie. You know, the saxophonist is was styling, and they're in a Irish soul band, and the trumpet player goes up to him while he's at the urinal. He's like, "What you're styling? What that is jazz. Soul has corners."
Uh-huh.
And the manager comes up to the stall beside him and it's like, "Jazz is wankers music. If you want to wank something, use that thing in your hand." But total. Sorry, Mom. Total.
Right.
Yeah, total aside.
Well, here's my last question to you. Okay. Gave you the t-ball, gave you the softball. Here comes the fastball.
Okay. I'll bunt.
Why should Biden have pardoned Trump?
Okay. Biden pardoning Trump. That probably would have also lowered the temperature. And really, looking back at it, I know why he didn't do it. He would have been more open to doing it, knowing Biden, if Trump hadn't gone after his son. But Trump made it personal, and in doing so, and as a result, I'm pretty sure that's the reason why he didn't do that. But pardoning Trump probably would have lowered the temperature. I would have, but even then, I would have offered a pardon with a condition that you never run for office again. That's what I would have dangled, and Trump would have refused. But just from my perceptions of him, which may be wrong, but I think Trump would have probably refused that offer. But it would have. I'm very interested to see. I mean, I know the forces that created Trumpism, were there before Donald Trump came on the scene. But I'd be interested in knowing and seeing how well MAGA survives after Trump. Because, I mean, there seems to be a power struggle a three-way power struggle between Bannon, Musk, and Vance
Uh-huh.
on who the heir should be.
Right.
But but there will only be one Trump. So what happens? Does the movement fall apart? MAGA is totally in control of the Republican Party at this point. People like Michael Steele don't have a party to go to. People like my mom don't have a party to go to.
Right.
There are so many conservative people out there who don't believe in MAGA,
right,
who don't feel represented by anybody now.
Right.
They don't have a voice.
Yeah.
So, yeah. Perhaps that's the segue into my final question here.
Yeah.
You mentioned open primaries.
Yes.
I've seen open primaries be used to sabotage, as recently in Maryland, mind you.
Oh, really? What?
Yeah. About open primaries going to nominate a harder line candidate by the other party. So, like, Democrats would would try to nominate the most right-wing person possible when using their vote in an open primary.
Sure. Yeah.
So that way the Republicans would lose in the next election. Would open primaries be better served if it was independents and and the regular party could do it? So like so the other party couldn't sabotage?
So, well, I guess in my original conception, okay, and this is again I think where we start to get into nuance, right? But
yeah,
in my original conception would be you have two candidates. They could be both. It could be one Republican, one Democrat. It could be two Republicans. It could be two Democrats. It could be a Republican and an independent. Any combination of candidates from individual parties. I take your point that there's certainly the possibility to sabotage, but I'd argue that it's probably not much different than the system that we have now, where again the Republican Party in Maryland, or certain parts of Maryland, does not fund very strong. They don't put in the effort to find strong candidates because they know the demographics of the area are that if they could put $1 million into a district and lose.
Yeah.
So they want to put $1 million into a district they think they have a good chance of winning. So, I don't know. I would hope that in the current party system with an open primary, it convinces the Republican Party in this example to devote more time and more resources, more money to developing quality candidates. That would be my hope. Would that actually happen? I don't know. I know in the places that have open primaries, they haven't gone back. They haven't gone back to the old system. So, is that an endorsement? Maybe not, but at least they seem to be at least as happy with their open primary system as they were with the old. So, I don't know. What do you like? Can I ask? I am genuinely curious because you have a kind of introspective look to you right now. You seem like you're really carefully thinking about this.
Well, what I'm thinking about is purple districts and how Maryland, and I suspect this is across the board, but I don't really know because I don't live everywhere. But I feel like gerrymandering is so prevalent that there are really no more purple districts. And when you have no purple districts, that means you're not getting people to take. You don't have a candidate who could rise and take the middle. You don't, because if you're in a hard blue district, you're going to put forth, a far left candidate, or be at least more apt to. And if you're do a hard right district, where they know they're not going to lose in the general, you're going to be, it's going to move the politician further to the right, away from the middle. And I mean, I feel gerrymandering is just.
Well, I actually was counting on you getting to this point.
Okay.
Because I didn't bring chess. It up. I didn't bring it up in the
chess.
article.
You're 3 moves ahead, because I didn't realize you had already moved 3 pieces. I'm going to lose on time. All right, go ahead.
How do you gerrymander a district where everyone is unaffiliated?
Well, dude, you need a social revolution to get that point. So you're still losing the game. Yeah, I mean, it's.
They can only really gerrymander if they know, like, there's this many reds, there's this many blues, and we're going to carve it out so that...
what you're hoping for is that at least 1/3... No.
It'd have to be more than that.
Probably be at least half.
Yeah,
half of the electorate would be independent.
Well, and to be clear, I mean unaffiliated, because in Maryland there are third parties, right?
Yeah.
There are Maryland recognizes, I think, 5 parties total,
and none of them have cake.
Right, I know, right? What's up with all these parties? There's nobody brings any cake or decent snacks. No, but yeah, I do feel strongly about that, though, that if more people were to register as unaffiliated, it becomes more difficult to gerrymander, to carve out areas where you have solidly red or solidly blue districts. Mm-hmm. And that may not be, in practice it could be a little bit different, because just being unaffiliated doesn't necessarily mean that you don't still align yourself with with one side or the other. And all anybody would have to do is go back and look at the last election to say, okay, well, this many people from this area voted in the last election, they voted red, or this many people voted blue, and then they could potentially carve it up that way. Mm-hmm. But the one thing I will say is, as an even when I first registered as unaffiliated, I felt a sort of weight, kind of lift, that I didn't have to pretend to uphold any one policy or another, that I didn't have to I didn't have to be subscribed to the dogma of and so.
But you still do. I mean,
I do still a bit, yes. Yeah. I'm not gonna lie, I'm not perfect.
We have the same friends.
Yeah. But I think the idea is that, again, you can forgive yourself for not always aligning yourself with your with one side or the other. Mm-hmm. And that you can decide to be more nuanced, or to say, I'm with you guys on these 8 issues, but these other 2, I'm over here.
Yeah.
And so at least going back to the idea of gerrymandering, you'd really almost have to get down and do an issue by issue poll of an area to really be able to gerrymander it one way or the other in this utopia that I've
Yeah, I remember
this hypothetical.
I guess during the first half of the Biden administration, um, Joe Manchin,
Yep.
Kirsten Sinema,
Yep.
two Democrats who are in the center. So they would wind up being in the right side of the Democratic Party.
Uh-huh.
I remember how much crap they took from fellow Democrats.
Oh, yeah.
You know, whether it be on the House floor, whether it be on the campaign trail, whether it be on social media, nobody could say anything about them, anything good about them from the Democratic Party. But
Manchin made it difficult. I'm not,
he did make it difficult.
Cinema, I think gets a pass, at least from me.
But you know what?
Manchin was, Go ahead.
You know, Manchin's from conservative West Virginia.
Yeah. Do
you know what happens if Manchin was a Republican? We would have got nothing. Sure. Absolutely nothing.
Yeah.
You know, there would have been no CHIPS Act. There would have been no infrastructure bill. There never would have been, everything that was passed in the first 2 years of Biden's term. We would have got none of that if it weren't for him. He stuck it out. He took the arguments. He decided not to run again because of it. And where are we now without him? And it's just... I remember Rush Limbaugh, because I used to listen to Rush Limbaugh back in the early 90s, saying, people in the middle of the road get run over. And Joe Manchin got run over. But I don't think we are better off because of it. It's anytime you have a my way or a highway, that's never good. One side cannot rule.
Right.
And in a world of compromise, you need a pain in the ass. You really do. You really need somebody who's a pain in the ass on your own side that you have to deal with, so that way you're honest and you don't run roughshod over the whole country.
I agree.
Yeah.
No, I think that's a good point.
Maybe I should write an article about the defense of Joe Manchin.
I would love to interview you about the defense of Joe Manchin.
Yeah.
Yeah, we should do that. We should make that
I should definitely do something like that. I think I just said 750 words, so maybe I'll just transcribe what I just said.
All right.
But it's that's kind of how I feel about it. The open primaries. Why do you feel open primaries are so liberating?
Because I think it gives. First of all, I cannot vote in a primary as an unaffiliated person. I can't. I think in theory in Maryland you're allowed to elect a party affiliation up to 2 weeks prior to the the primary. So in theory I could register as Republican or Democrat 2 weeks before their individual primaries, which in Maryland happen at the same time, and then vote in one or the other. But I don't. I know there are people who would take advantage of that situation and use the opportunity to vote for a weak candidate of the opposing party. That's just not me. I want the strongest candidate, period. I don't care if they're Republican or Democrat. And I know we've been kind of talking about Maryland as being this solidly blue state, but no, there's definitely been some shades of purple in our more recent past, right?
Oh, yeah.
There was Ehrlich, there was Hogan.
Yep.
Or not Ehrlich, who am I thinking? No, it was Ehrlich.
Yeah, it was Ehrlich.
Yeah. So we can, in this state at least, we can accept members of the opposing party. I mean, it's arguable whether, uh, a Republican in Iowa would really think of Hogan or Ehrlich as being, as matching their vibe, so to speak. But they were Maryland Republicans, and I was, I was happy with that. I think having an open primary gives me, and I'm being selfish here for a moment, but at least gives me the opportunity to make my voice heard and just say, I want the best candidate. I don't care if they're red or blue. I just want who I think is the best for this state, for the country, for my district at any given time. And that's
okay.
Yeah.
And final question, Mr. Philosophy Major.
Yep.
Are you John locked in your views and caught to change?
I don't know. Give me some Play-Doh. I'll play with the idea.
There you go. All right. Well, thank you for doing this once again.
Absolutely. Enjoyed it.
Yep. And for anybody who's listening, please click and subscribe to the Send It Project, or send us a comment or an email. Feedback is definitely appreciated, and like it too, please. That's about it.
And absolutely, if you want to make a contribution, email. There's an email. Your email's on there. Email
editor,
one of us.
Editor at ascendantproject.com.
Yep.
Editor at ascendantproject.com.
Looking for more contributors.
Yes. All right, everyone.